Welcome again, viewers. This is Wadidja. As what did you say? What did you do? What did you think? And continuing this ability card episode series with recovery ability loadout and healer, or rather healer loadout and healer DPS, as far as healing yourself and healing your team or posse. With utilizing the Deadeye ability, quite an inspiration or a moment to recuperate. You know, this is going to mainly focus, like I said, on recovery ability cards and any hybrid sort of association with that. The previous videos kind of, gave you a more in general outlook of things, as well as specifics about Satanic builds and its possibilities, and DPS builds and its possibilities. So now we're just going to be trying to focus on your recovery ability type loadouts, if that's how you want to specify yourself, your character in the game. And keep in mind, disclaimer, once again, I want to make sure this is clear. You don't have to use any of these cards, and many of the passives that are available can work for you regardless if you utilize Deadeye, if you don't feel like that's your thing. So you can take it as you will, and however you wish to recombinate these things. This is sort of just my best suggestion here of what I've experienced. And of course, if a player uses something that is overpowering to your situation, regardless of what setup you have, you're going to be dead. But if in this situation here, if we don't have if we don't have if we do have a moment to get yourself together, or as the namesake of this card says here, a moment to recuperate, then definitely this recovery loadout, this healer loadout here, can do you an immense amount of good. You can withstand a good amount of damage, and to a very limited extent you can sustain you can withstand sustained damage against but the thing is that with a lot of these healing type abilities, you need to have just a second, if not a moment, to heal again. You don't seem to heal, or at least it's hard to notice that you are healing through damage received at the same time. I'll be honest with you, I personally feel like you do heal as you receive damage. It's just a matter of how much damage is coming through and whether you can translate the point visually on your health bar. Because typically, even in a PvE situation against the AI or NPCs, you're going to be getting hit from multiple sources more often than not, and and depending on what you're doing, to avoid the situation or to draw aggro. For example, if you do a assassin or execution takedown, as far as PvE is concerned, it's mad aggro on you. And 9 out of 10, if you were to do that even in a PvE situation or even in free roam, people probably want to draw on you real fast, because you're in an animation, you're in a situation where you cannot really fight back or defend back against someone else while you're doing what you're doing. And even when you come out of it, they want to take control of your game and actually switch your point of aim. So when you see the camera angle switch after doing an execution, it's because they switched your point of aim. Now you can switch your point of aim with the with your D-pad. If you're using PlayStation, left on the D-pad will switch your point of aim for so that you can kind of see the way you were originally seeing. But I find it best to navigate with the wave map, with whatever targets are there and the environmental structures they kind of show, rather than use my peripheral vision to look at the big picture, rather than trying to go through the cumbersome act of switching my point of aim when you try to do an execution kill. But bottom line is, these recovery abilities won't save you If people are deadly accurate, if you're under massive, definitely sustained fire you know, from various different weapons, you can take a little bit, but I mean, really, you've got to move. You've got to really react. You can't just stand there and just take it all day. By no means. 2, 3 shots, maybe. For sure. 2, 3 shots, depending on what they are. And if it doesn't blow you up completely, you'll be fine. Especially if they graze you. If you're moving in some kind of dynamic. Like dodging with the doing your ground dive will definitely help you. Ducking, crouching rather, in between steps, and as you're running, various different tactics can help you get that moment to heal. When you use something like come back stronger, your health begins to regenerate much sooner after you take damage. And so, all you need is a moment, and you'll see that burst heal come through. Strange medicine, you gain a lot of health when you inflict damage. So if you're shooting while you're running, you're closing the gap to the target. Okay, it didn't die. You pull out a hatchet, boom, dead, or whatever. Or you do some throwing knives on the way and then hatchet. Or there's a lot of different things you can do to give damage to the target on your approach to it. Throw a cocktail. I'm not cocktail, but a fire bottle, as I believe they're referenced. You know, good fire bottle, or a volatile fire bottle will create damage on the enemy over time, which will also to allow you to heal over time with the use of this. Regenerating at half the normal rate really isn't too much of an issue, because you can offset it with come back stronger. And of course, if you use cold-blooded in combination and all this, you can kind of essentially keep a heal going perpetually without even using Deadeye with cold-blooded, because over the next 5 seconds, you gain more health. Now I'm gonna level this up to level 3, but at the moment I haven't felt as much of an advantage with this, because I've been playing with a healer build, or a healer hybrid build at the moment, because of the way I use tonics, and I'm going with more of a tonic loadout, in which case I'm sort of healing myself every time I eat something or drink something. So this doesn't really come into play for me, but I have used it, leveled it up, but regardless of what level, it's going to be 5 seconds. But you do see some very nice burst heals at whatever stage that you have, and of course at level 3 it'll be the best of the situation. One second. So and then if you couple that with quite an inspiration, you will constantly be healing, as long as you're not incurring damage. But I have not seen this setup work to heal through a massive bombardment of damage. Or for example, Teddy Brown, if you fight him, sorry for the spoiler, he's going to shoot you with some really potent ammunition, and I can't heal through that. It'll take 2 shots or something like that to take me out, but I can't heal through the damage. Because there's a sort of debuff, so to speak, or your character will go through reaction when they're shot, when they're burned, when various different things happen, so you're not able to sort of return fire at the same time, or inflict damage while you're receiving damage with certain types of damage you receive. And of course, if you decide to go with a moment to recuperate, your time frame between being able to be healed will be reduced, because you'll have to reactivate your Deadeye. But at the same time, you're not wasting your Deadeye, where if you were running solo in that regard, with quite an inspiration, because though if you're in a team scenario, you'd be healing a team when you're not being healed because you're being shot, or rather, you won't really notice yourself being healed because you're receiving damage. Your Deadeye is still running, and it's still being drained. But with this scenario here, You know, it cancels the dead eye, so therefore it's not wasted. So if you actually really do have a moment, you're good. But you can keep toggling that on and off as much as you're able to and as fast as you're able to. Whenever you're not being shot, and you're going to get bigger burst heals than you would with quite an inspiration. And again, you can run with this same setup, this same recovery setup with a moment to recuperate, and just respect your limitation in regard to it. I'll eventually level up all the cards, but I'm sort of working my way around to most pertinent for myself, but gaining experience with them all along the way. So, as far as like recombinations to this situation, or other options to it, again, I kind of prefer quiet and inspiration, where you don't have to worry about toggling your Deadeye on and off whenever you receive damage. But you may prefer that game style with that, which, like I said, at any point in time you can substitute it, with quiet and inspiration. The benefit of this is that it does send out heals to your whole team. And these cards are also too great for role playing at a very minimum, as I've stated before. But yeah, so if you wanted to go with a build option in regard to this here, you could substitute Cold Blooded with again, what I oftentimes recommend is your Gift of Focus. Now, keep in mind, if you're using the Gift of Focus, this is in restoration to your Deadeye, so that is really just reinforcing and backing up quite an inspiration. Okay, and as far as it healing you, therefore these things become more of a backup to your white bar health. If you've run out of tonics, you can't get to a tonic soon enough, they're not damaging you effectively, whereas you can still heal through the situation, and these things could provide a backup to this. But if you wanted to roll with a recovery sort of satanic build loadout, it'd probably be more advisable to go ahead and use Unblinking Eye as your backup for your white bar when your tonic wears off, and to let's see here, and just want to make sure I'm right on this here. Strange Medicine. Just want to double check. Yeah, I mean, you could go with the DPS aspect of things with Peak Edition, instead of Strange Medicine, like I've recommended in the previous DPS thing. You could, like I said, use an tonic based sort of situation here. So you could go with Eye for an Eye if you wanted. If you feel like you want to pace your tonic use and rely on your white bar usage more, you could go with this. But if you're utilizing tonics, you're going to be kind of replacing your own health in a lot of ways, and just using quite an inspiration or a moment to recuperate to back you up, when damage is coming through. But if you're using gold core foods for your health core and gold core tonics for your health bar, then this provides a buffer or a backup when that breaks down from receiving too much damage, as well as quite an inspiration, and therefore you'd want to activate it more so when necessary than sort of say a preventative measure. But you can activate it as a preventative measure because you don't know what you're going to be hit by as well. But again, like I said, you could take out Strange Medicine and go for anyone, the damage situation. Let's see. Or, you could go for an Eye for an Eye. Like I said, if you're working off of because Eye for an Eye marries well with Strange Medicine, so you'll be getting more dead eye back as with headshots on top of this, and you cannot have to rely so much on tonics, or you could pace the situation if depending on how the game plays this working with your your strategy and tactics. You can also too go with some aspect of damage buffer, to your entire situation, by using something like single purpose, and toggling your weapon on and off, or never without one. Um, and there's various different other ones you could go with, depending on your strategy and tactic. Again, this is a good one, hunker down as well. Um, and of course, game modes have something to do with whether or not you use never without one successfully, and how your tactics may vary. And realize you can use your posse outfits to switch to your hat, switch to another outfit to put on another hat, even in the game modes. So that's a benefit of having a posse when going into something like that. Uh, and of course, in a regular mode, you can free roam. You can negotiate the situation more often than not to get your hat back, if you're wise about the situation. Um, and of course, while you're trying to deal with all that, quite an inspiration can go ahead and kick in the heels to help you along the way. Um, so there you go. Let's see here. So yeah, I guess that's about it on the recovery aspects of things. Like I said, you can of course make this situation a a little bit more tanky, of course, but so it's combining, a recovery tank sort of setup. You could go ahead and take strange medicine out, as I said earlier. You could go ahead and put in your defensive ability of never without one, um, and you can continue to run with a gift of focus if you're utilizing a tonic situation there. Um, but if you don't want to deal with that cost, and or so to say, you run out of it if you decide to go that route, you can go ahead and put in something like hunker down, to if you're utilizing cover to make yourself a little bit more tanky in between getting to your targets. If you're in a game mode where you don't have to worry about being blown up, or special types of ammo, to fight another day would be very advantageous. Just realize that you have to be running when that takes effect. But this works for you regardless of what the damage is that's coming into you, as long as you're in cover. Uh, and this one here, to me, I like this one a little bit better than a moment. To fight another day, because it's not relying on whether you're running in cover or anything like that. All you have to do is just toggle your weapon on and off, or either be equipped with a melee weapon, and you're golden. Now, throwable weapons are not included as far as equipping yourself with a melee weapon. Only items that are in your melee weapon wheel category. So you see melee, so you see knife, um, you see hatchet, you see cleaver. So those types of weapons within this category are going to be your melee based weapons. So to take care with that. But you can utilize any other weapon, and then toggle that point on and off, uh, and still maintain the damage resistance that it will give you against bullets. So yeah, so this is sort of, say, a healer tank um, hybrid or variation to things. And of course, you could substitute it out with a moment to recuperate. So if you're doing your hatchet event series type things or whatever, this will work very well for you there. um, like I said, again, just respect your limitations and you're good to go. um, like I said, if you didn't want to deal with the never without one thing, you could go ahead back um, to fight another day, or you could put in your hunker down and utilize cover, strategically shooting whatever from a distance. Then you're covered when you're unarmed and running. um, or not running or crouching or dodging. This is not relying on whether you're running or not. This setup here. But it does rely on whether you use cover to be more effective. And like I said, or you could go with to fight another day. Either way, as long as it works with your strategy and tactics, you're good to go. And but that would be the way I would go. And if you're not too worried about the amount of time that Deadeye takes to drain, but again, you can go ahead and maximize your tank setup a little bit more specifically. Well, your healer tank. Let me specify that, because I will be going through defensive setups, which will involve some of this here on my next video. But you can go with your hunker down to fight another day and of single purpose, and utilize these healer ability Deadeye cards like a moment to recuperate and quite an inspiration, and you'd be quite effective. And as long as you're not dealing with anything that's going to blow you up, or anything that's going to set you on fire or hit you with a hatchet or any type of range, melee type weapon or range throwable weapon, lasso, those things will overcome this as if you didn't have anything. So but bear in mind, at the moment you stop receiving damage, your heals will kick in with quite an inspiration. And if you are receiving damage in any kind of way which would relate to these cards, you will be protected. Of course, with hunkered down, you definitely have to be in cover. Once you're not in cover, once you get blown out of cover or knocked out of cover, this ceases to be useful to you. But while you're in cover, this will protect you against everything, to a degree. Of course, but you got to understand the nature of the way various things hit you. It can be a consecutive shot, like shotgun explosives, or incendiary type things. So it's, this does help you a lot, but just respect the limitations. And so therefore, this is your healer tank type setup. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful. Again, this is just my way of sharing and preserving the memory of the experience. And I think the final one of these will be about the defensive abilities. So hopefully you've gotten something out of this recovery or healer and healer hybrid presentation. All right. Thank you again, and enjoy.